What's going on, all you sex subscribers? Welcome back. Today we got a 2-for-1 medium rare podcast slash Z's Corner.
Z Corner.
Z Corner podcast. So we got my man Z, aka Zain, aka Dr. Erzask, aka Mastered Physics, literally.
Yeah.
Do you have any other AKAs the people should know about?
No, I think that's it. I just got the physics identity, got work, and then play video games on the side. So
solid, man. Glad to hear. Cool. We'll jump right into it. How's the morning been?
It's been pretty good. I mean, not really been up to too much. Woke up way later than I was planning on waking up.
Yeah, you woke up. You got a library card?
I got a library card. Yeah.
Shout out to the Frisco Public Library.
Yeah, I got. Although I don't know if it's a bad thing to show the library card number, but there's the library.
Just show the front of it. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh,
nice dinosaur.
Can move this out of the way too. Yeah, that was pretty cool. There's some pretty cool options of library cards that I think you picked the best one, to be honest.
Yeah. Dinosaur, dog, cat.
The building.
The building.
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah. Bet you a lot of people choose that one.
Yeah, I actually don't know. Right. I feel like Frisco in itself, I don't know if it's as Texas as like the rest of Texas.
Yeah, because it's like they kind of want to do their own thing.
Yeah.
So in that regard, they're kind of like they're the most Texan, right?
Yeah, they're the real Lone Star State.
The Lone Star State, yeah. Yeah, there's a high school here, right, called Lone Star High School or something like that.
Yeah, I actually have no idea. I grew up in Tennessee. So
oh, never mind. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, what's the Z Corner podcast usually about?
So mostly for me, I've been focusing on just kind of having conversations about people about their like journeys overall. So the last one I did was a really cool one with someone named Jenna Kareem. She ended up being it just ended up being really cool because she like basically traveled across all of like Central Asia, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, Tajikistan, I think. And basically like focus on like civil society and democratic reform.
Wow.
And, like, what got her to like that point in her life, which was kind of insane.
Yeah. Dang. Yeah. I don't have anything that impressive, man. I've just been.
No, I mean I've seen like some of the stuff that you've been like. At least I have. I think most of what I've seen has been on Instagram.
Yeah.
But like the conversations and like the deep quotes that you guys have you've been posting. It's I guess it feels more like one of those. Kind of like those deep conversations and inspirational like podcasts that you kind of see around. Is that like fair?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's usually like we just sit down over a steak. This is like the second time in a podcast when we're not eating. Because the last time when we did one in Atlanta, we just cooked.
Yeah.
But usually, we just sit down, chop it up, and we're just kind of the conversation just goes in different places.
Yeah.
It just goes that way because we start talking about something where we both are in sync.
Yeah.
So I think one of them was we were talking about relationships.
Yeah.
Right. And my buddy Joshua, he said something about like you get like there's 3 tiers to have your relationship, right? The proximity, the shared interests, and then the shared values.
Yeah.
And like that became a like a clip because it was a quotable. But I wouldn't have had any of those. Like I have all those in like long form content. There's so much long form content on my channel that I haven't broken down yet. And my buddy Rafi was saying, he's like, I kept telling him, I was like, oh man, I need to make more content. Because he's like, dude, you have all the content. You just need to clip it and make it digestible for an audience.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of podcasts that I watch like on a regular basis that when I'm like doom scrolling on TikTok, like I just see like snippets of it just keep on popping up over and over again. It's actually even gotten me into like a few podcasts that I didn't watch before I started like doom scrolling.
Dang, yeah, man, doom scrolling is crazy. It's dangerous, but sometimes you find that like one piece of wisdom that makes it all worth it.
Yeah. It's I guess going to like the relationship like segment you like mentioned, one of the things that I like recently saw on TikTok that I like found really interesting was it was a guy talking about like how in relationships everyone builds or just in life in general, everyone builds their own houses, right? And so like your parents give you like a few bricks, and you like start placing those bricks as your foundation. You like go into high school, you put a few more bricks down, and some of those bricks are like really crappy bricks.
Yeah.
But some of them are really good bricks.
Rock
but
solid.
at the end of the day, they're your bricks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you end up building this house, and you like find someone that you like, and you want them to come and live in your house.
Right.
Whereas they're building their own house, and they want you to like live in theirs.
Wow.
Right? So instead of like kind of building a new house together, most people are trying to like fit other people into the houses they've built up until that point.
Dang, that's so clean. That's such a great like visual analogy too.
Yeah.
Like I literally thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people build houses full of, pride and
Yeah.
other these specific emotions or how they were raised, and some will build houses out of traumatic experiences, and then it's like, I'm not trying to live in that house. That house is haunted. Like,
Yeah, and I think it's an analogy that goes into like a lot of other stuff too, right? Is that like I think a lot of people think that they're like falling behind compared to other people, and they like think that they're not at the same like spot a lot of other people are in life, or they just kind of see the grass is greener on the other side.
Yep.
But then it could also just be that like the foundations that you're laying for your house have to be complete first. So even though someone might be like further along than you are in terms of like completing their house may not be as like
Foundationally strong.
Yeah.
I love these analogies, man. This man's analogies are on point. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I stole it from TikTok. So.
These man's rip-off analogies are on point. Yeah, no, that's good, man. When you were talking about bricks just a second ago, it reminded me of this. You know what Toastmasters is?
Yeah.
Right. So I was in Toastmasters at my like previous job, and the second speech I ever gave, I titled it Bricks, because I was talking with my dad about working. This is like years ago. I was talking about working out, and shout out to him. He finally started getting consistent on working out. But I told him, I was like, because he would start and stop, and this is like a very common thing for people whenever they want to start new things, right? It doesn't have to be working out related. When you start something new, same thing. You're laying down, every time you do the thing, you're laying down a brick.
Yeah.
Right? And, after a week, you have 7 bricks. Not really enough for anything, right? Even after a month, you have 30 bricks. After a year, you have 365 bricks. It's not really enough to do anything with. You kind of just have a pile of bricks. And then you get to, like, after 5 years of doing that thing, that's like, 1,800 bricks?
Yeah.
Right? Now you got a solid foundation for a house.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that's kind of interesting in terms of like the numbers. There's a it's a YouTube channel, but it's also a Twitch channel. It's called The Healthy Gamer.
Oh yeah, you sent me his videos, man. Yeah, that video was really good about like the phone changing you or whatever. Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, so he did one where he talks about like foundational changes, and like everyone that like wants to be in a relationship or is struggling to be like in a relationship. Everyone tells them, hey, like, don't worry about the relationship. Work on yourself. Yep. And the relationship will come. Yeah. Right.
Build it, and they will come.
Yeah. And then the thing is that a lot of people will like work on themselves for like 3 months. Yeah. And say, hey, like, it's not working. Yeah. But it's like 3 months is a very short amount of time. Yeah. Yeah. It's like these like working on yourself is something that like can take like 5-6 years before you actually see like the fruits of the labor that you put in.
Yeah. You ever heard of the term decision lag?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty much what it sounds like, right? Or whatever the choices you decide to make today won't impact you tomorrow or next week or even like a month down the road. They'll impact you 6 months down the road. Yeah. So everything you're doing today, it kind of, you think it doesn't matter, but in 6 months, the choices that you make today will come back to like, it's kind of like, I feel like it's like I don't even know I can't even call it a circle because that's implying that it's going to end, right? Yeah. But I think it's just like one of those like a wave, like if you're in the valley of a wave and then you're doing all this work and feels like you're like barely getting out, like 6 months later, you're going to be on the peak, and then you'll see what the fruits of your labor is. And 6 months might be too soon, but years of doing something, that's where the money is.
Yeah. I guess, do you regret any of the decisions that you did like, 5 years ago based on like where you think their like outcome is today? or like even a longer time span, right?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Any big decisions, or even just like small decisions, or
Yeah, like I mean, there's like I can think of like a couple of like small decisions that like if I mean I'm also tend to overthink things a lot.
yeah,
So like I can balloon a small decision into a big like
yeah,
outcome depending on like what it is, right?
yeah. No, I definitely think that. Uh, there's a couple times in my life, and I'll go. As you get older, you kind of realize it. But when you're younger, I mean, all you care about is like getting laid and chasing tail, right? So I just spent so much time just like
Yeah.
doing that, and there's like I was like, man, like there's this Kanye line, and I love hip hop music, right? So I
Yeah.
quote. There's so many hip hop quotes, right? Um, he goes. He goes, chasing love, like, the first part is serious, the second part's funny, but he's like, chasing love, all the bittersweet hours lost. Eating Asian pussy, all I need is sweet and sour sauce. Right? It wouldn't be a Kanye line if the second part wasn't in there.
Yeah.
But that first line is so on point. He's like, chasing love, all the bittersweet hours lost.
Yeah.
Like, it is a very bittersweet moment because you're getting like this validation from someone else. You're getting, this feeling of like happiness and like or whatever, right? Like you're chasing something because you don't have it, or you do have it, but you want to get more of it, or you're just, it's like a feeling, right? Like some people call it lust, love, whatever happiness emotion. They're like, oh, I'll be happy when I find someone that whatever.
Yeah.
I never really thought like that. I just want to get laid. Like that's pretty much it. And I wanted to learn the process of how it worked. Like that's what like intrigued me the most. It's like, how do you meet someone and then like just even meeting someone and then like going on a date with them, right? Like there's a process that happens. It doesn't just happen. Like I mean, to most people, like it just happens. But like there's something that takes place to get from one step to the other, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a lot of hours lost in that. Just like a lot of just like chasing validation type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with Bollywood movies for the most part, and my like whole notion of like relationships I think was formed by Bollywood movies for the first like.
It's tough, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you woke up and you're like, wow, this is bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, so it's, I guess, do you believe in like the whole like love / like soulmate like situation that I think I at least gets peddled for Bollywood films and at least like rom-coms at the very least in US culture?
Yeah, man, it's funny. I used to watch I enjoy watching rom-coms by myself for no other reason than to like get that little peek, because I truly don't think like a rom-com exists in real life, and definitely Bollywood movies definitely not. Like nobody sings for that long.
But I've been to a few weddings.
Yeah, that's true. The idea of a soulmate, I don't think, like, to me, like in my personal, like where I'm at right now, like, or actually I don't think I've ever, maybe when I was younger, but like I learned pretty early that I don't think there is a such thing. I don't think that the idea or this notion of somebody comes into, like, you're half of something and somebody else comes into your life and they complete, oh, I'm looking for someone to complete me. No, I don't think that exists, because I think you should like already be whole, and then you find someone else that's also whole, and then you guys come together. And Stephen Covey calls it interdependence. It's not you're not codependent on someone else. You're not so independent that you're like not. You're kind of coming together and you're making each other's lives better, versus codependency, you're making each other's lives worse. Not at the beginning. The beginning, codependency is amazing. It's like crack, which I've never done, but I listen to a lot of rap music, and they talk, dude, apparently crack is crazy. So,
And
yeah,
I mean,
at the beginning, it's.
I mean, I think that's probably true for like most addictions, right? It's like it feels great in the beginning, and then as you like get more and more addicted, your life starts suffering.
Yeah, exactly. Because all the negatives start to pile up. Because at the beginning, you don't notice the negatives because you have like the beer goggles or whatever, like your rose tinted glasses, right? You're seeing everything in a positive way.
Right.
I think that's why a lot of people don't. I think men especially. I mean, women too, but men especially don't catch a lot of red flags.
Yeah.
Because actually, no, this goes both ways. Men and women don't catch red flags in each other at the very beginning of a relationship because of these rose tinted glasses.
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, 8 months in, after the honeymoon phase is well over, like, oh wow, this person has been doing this for the past 8 months, and I'm just now, like, becoming aware of it. So,
Yeah, I have like noticed that at least in like the Desi community,
Yeah.
like the older people tend to have like a much more like pragmatic viewpoint of like marriage, right?
Yeah.
That you just like you get married to someone who's like if your two families like get along,
Yeah.
you guys can get married. If you guys have like similar like end goals or values, then you can get along. But it's not so much about like necessarily like I mean I think they do ask if you like each other, but I think the most important thing is that is there the compatibility there.
Yeah, is there like yeah, can you guys get along, and is it beneficial for the families for you guys to get married?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's what it's all about. I mean, that's what it was back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Like kings would have multiple kids, that way they could use them as like peace treaties with other nations.
Yeah.
I don't know, from my
Yeah.
vast recollection of watching watching like The Last Kingdom and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, from what I remember in American history, I think it was the same thing for like the pioneers as they like moved west, right? Marriage of convenience was like the preferable thing rather than like just getting married to the first attractive person you saw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In Desi community, I definitely think that there's still a lot of like bringing families together through marriage, and then there's also a lot of like, hey, I'm gonna marry this person because I've been with them and I like them.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah. You mentioned the like red flags, and I kind of wonder in terms of like not just like romantic relationships, but in terms of like friendships and in terms of like even familial relationships. It seems like one of the things that I've kind of been like seeing pop up a lot is like this kind of push toward staying away from red flags, staying away or like kind of keeping your boundaries safe and keeping your like creating your own like space essentially.
right. Okay. Yeah.
I sometimes wonder if that's like it inherently resonates with people, but I don't know if it's necessarily something that like people should be following. Right? Like a lot of red flags that I think that that sometimes people see, or even like boundaries that sometimes like people create, like there's a negotiation that kind of goes in that process, right? And if someone's like pushing up against your boundaries and and you refuse to do that negotiation, is that something that just like is that something that you should be working toward, or is it something that the line should be a harder, like more solid line for them not to be able to cross?
I would say it's a great question, because I would say it's definitely like a case by case basis on what the boundary is, right? So if you're in an instance and someone is like your partner, is talking about like your family in a negative way, you're like, whoa, that's a hard line. Like you can't talk about my mom like that. Like you're done, right? Something like that, right?
Yeah.
And if it's another thing like I'm not gonna drink a milkshake on Tuesdays, right? Like I mean you can work on you can work on that, right? Like
maybe.
Yeah, maybe, right? Like it's like hey, I don't want you to drink any milkshakes on Tuesday because it's like a day, I don't know, whatever, because some religion is whatever, right? Like maybe that's something you can work on, right? Maybe that's something I can work on to like I won't drink milkshakes on Tuesdays, but I'll drink milkshakes on Thursdays and Fridays, right?
Yeah.
Like that's something different. But I mean that's just the example, right? But it just depends on what the boundary is.
Yeah.
But also with the red flags, I think everyone has their own perspective of what it is.
Yeah.
Right. These days, I know the big word is like the ick. It's like, oh, what gives you the ick, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like when dudes like breathe, and I'm like, bro, what? Like, well, first of all, like I hate TikTok because of that reason, because there's just so much like, but it also at the same time, it's just such people will view TikTok and take that as truth because it sounds good. That's the biggest thing I hate these days. Just because something sounds good, people will take it as fact and live by it today. Like they'll live by it. They're like, and there's so many things, man. Like, and the one time I need to think of an example, I can't. But it's like if it sounds good, they're like, oh yeah, that has to be true because it sounds good.
So there's one that I think you and I probably both heard growing up, and this is not related to like a philosophical idea or anything, but when growing up, when you're like taught about algebra, I think every Desi person has been told that the founder of algebra is Al-Jaber, right?
Yeah.
And even though that's the name of, so the actual founder of, or like creator of algebra was Al-Khwarizmi, and he wrote a
Right.
book called Al-Jabr, but because it sounds like a name,
Al-Jabr, yeah,
it just
yeah.
like feels like, oh, that must be right. It must be a guy
And
named
then this like a
Al-Jabr.
dude, yeah. Dang, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know it was the guy's actual name, but I knew like it wasn't
Yeah.
Al-Jabr. Yeah, that sounds pretty white. Like
Yeah.
sounds like some white people made it up. Man, no, that's good. Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think some big things are like, that one TikTok that went viral that was like, yeah, I need a man who's 6 foot in finance and like makes
Yeah.
6 figures, right?
And it turns out it's like 2 people in the entire world that like fit that like description.
Yeah, it's like the calculator, right? Have you seen that? Like the delusion calculator,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it applies for both. It's like men and women, and
but
it's like
the thing is,
very limited amount of people.
I feel like that's true in like on TikTok, and you see it on TikTok, and I think there's a lot of like beliefs that are kind of formed around that. But like if you just kind of look out into the world around you, I feel like people just don't have like those standards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they care about a lot of like different ideals or like values rather than just like the aesthetics of the person.
I agree, and I think like people who make those TikToks, like those those influencers who make TikToks like that, I think that's their TikTok personality.
Yeah.
That's their like influencer personality, but then in real life, I think they're completely different people.
Yeah.
There's no way, and like I think they do it on purpose because they figured out the formula that gets views and the formula that gets like shares and likes and the stuff that goes viral.
Right.
So they play a character, and then in real life, like they're not, like there's no way.
It also is kind of sad because I think that it's the thing that causes a lot of people to feel loneliness where they wouldn't wouldn't have like historically. Right?
You mean social media in general, or
Yeah, so like I think it's that when people will see social media, they think, okay, well these are like the standards that I have to like abide by if I want to like fit into whatever like segment of society I want to.
Right.
But if I'm not over 6 foot, if I'm not like an attractive guy, I think a lot of guys think that, oh, that like immediately disqualifies me.
Yeah, doomer mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for like women as well. Like I think they have like this warped sense of like what they need to kind of be.
Like what beauty is.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not. I guess it's also not just even beauty, but also just like even in like terms of like confidence, right? Mm-hmm. Like I think a lot of people like over realize or over like interpret what being like a confident person is.
Yeah.
And it kind of like enters the realm of like being more like performative than like an actual confidence.
Yeah, like you're acting.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think a lot of it is acting, right? Because people say like, "Oh, fake it till you make it."
Yeah.
And I think it's actually there's another phrase. It's like pretend till you remember.
Yeah.
So you just and if you do it, if you show it enough, your brain will just be like, "Oh yeah, this is your personality now."
Yeah.
But
yeah. I kind of wonder about it to a degree because like in a situation like this, right? Like you and I know each other.
Yep.
I think we fairly feel like comfortable talking to each other.
100%.
And I think in this like I don't think either one of us is thinking about like the concept of being confident when like talking to each other because there's that like comfort, right?
Yeah, because there's already we already have a pre-existing relationship.
Yeah.
Years before this.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those because this is something that I think you've like potentially talked about a lot is just like putting yourself in that like in those like situations like over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? Just kind of getting desensitized to the like
we're talking about the same thing, right? But not actually saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
It's just like when you go to the gym and you're repping out weights.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta do the same thing. You gotta get out there.
Yeah.
Put yourself in those situations and just rep out the weight over and over and over again. Sometimes you rep out weight that's a little too heavy for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you rep out weight that's too light for you.
Yeah.
Then you'll find the middle ground and you'll kind of just
Yeah.
Then it's like a normal thing. Then you just go to the gym every day. If you work out, you go to the gym every day and just work out, right?
Yeah.
And so I think when it becomes like a habit for you, that's when the biggest thing is. Yeah.
So in terms of like, so I guess this is like a lot of this is like in the present tense or in the past tense. When you like think about the future tense, what do you like end up thinking about?
Dude, that's a great question. There's very limited times in my life I've ever thought about the future.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't have a 10-year plan. I don't have a 20-year. Actually, like my 10-year plan is just like just keep holding all the assets I have and hope that one day something pops off. But I don't know, man. I mean, I think like I'm very, you read Power of Now, you read like A New Earth, like a lot of Eckhart Tolle, a lot of like meditation stuff, right? And they always talk about living in the present moment.
Yeah.
And I have done that. I do that a lot. I'm like very like focused. If you ask me like where I want to be career-wise in 10 years, I don't have an answer for you. I've never had an answer in an interview either.
Yeah.
When they're like, "What do you want to do?" and I'm just like, "Great question. Yeah. But I think it is important to think about the future of like what kind of life you want, and it's like that decision thing, right? Like decision lag, right? So it's like if you want a certain life in 10 years, 20 years, whatever, what are the decisions that you're making today to close that gap, right? Because if you're here and you want to be here, what do you have to do over the next like 6 to 18 months to be able to like close that gap slow and steady? Yeah. I don't have a dollar amount or anything in mind, but I just have like a
but I guess with that decision lag, it is also kind of like you do it in terms of like living in the present as well, right? Like the decisions are not the ones. It's not like you're making the decision today, and then it's like impacting 6 months from now. It's that you're making that decision today, tomorrow, the day after.
Exactly.
And it's just you've just internalized it as this is the kind of like decisions that I want to be making.
Exactly. Yep. And it's not even like a streak type thing.
Yeah.
It's Alex. Do you know who Alex Becker is?
Sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
So before he started making these like crypto videos, he was really really good like self-dev influencer like on YouTube back in like 2018, 2019. Yeah. And he has this, and he still makes those videos every once in a while, but he's like don't think about like marking X's in a calendar and keeping a streak for something. Think about, was today a green arrow day or a red arrow day? Like, is today a green arrow forward or a red arrow backward? Yeah. And then you mark that on your calendar over the course of a month, and like the goal is just to see more green arrows than red arrows. Yeah. And so, as long as you're doing the right things, on a daily basis, like for the most part, right? Like what's the 90-10 rule or something like that? 80-20 rule, Pareto principle. 80% of the results come from 20% of the. Yeah. So you're doing 20% of things right 80% of the time.
It'll work out in the end.
Yeah, it'll work out. Yeah. And then I'm sure you can have those days where you're just like, where you lapse and you mess up. You mess up multiple days in a row, and then you're like, all right, I'm good now. Like I'm back on track. Yeah. But yeah.
There's a genre of anime called isekai. Have you heard of it?
Nah. What is it? How do you spell it?
Isekai.
Okay.
I think is how it's spelled. I think in terms of the like anime world, it's probably gotten a negative rap, especially recently, just because like every anime nowadays being released is an isekai.
Oh, gotcha.
Because it just ended up being a super popular trend. But basically, the idea is that a very average person ends up passing away for like a random reason. So most often it's like they get run over by a truck or something. And they weren't supposed to get run over by the truck, so there's like the gods of the world decide to reincarnate this person in a magical world.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
But then they like just become an absolutely amazing person in the magical world.
Wow.
Right? And so like the idea is that like it's not that the person was like a crappy person or an average person. Yeah. It's that they needed the push to become
extraordinary.
Yeah. And I've often kind of wondered because I kind of fall on like both sides of it, is I wonder how many of us or how many people are like truly extraordinary that just never get the chance to like show it. Or is it that like none of us are actually extraordinary? Like even like the best of us are just like 10% better, and so we call them extraordinary, but it's only a 10% improvement. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I thought about that too, especially in from an athletic perspective, or from a social perspective, right? Or from a what else is there? Like intellectual perspective, right? It's like, is everyone just like not reaching? Is everyone just not trying and like not reaching their potential? Yeah. Or are these people just like they're cutting out all the bullshit, They're not consuming anything. They're just focused on like doing the homework, doing the reading, doing the skills to get better, right? Like, are they just locking themselves in a room and like removing every distraction and just focusing on that thing? You know, and like you're just streamlining it, right?
Yeah.
There's this. Dang, I really want to. I wish the whiteboard was right here so I could write on it. That'd be amazing. Actually, dude, here I'm just gonna turn my camera because I think this example is like really important. I think what a lot of people do is so if you have like all your energy or whatever, right, and like you're involved in like you got like your main thing, but you gotta have like all these other distractions.
Yeah.
Right, like you're only like ever like doing this. Right, like you have your main thing. Say your main thing is like sports. Yeah. But then you have like YouTube here. You have like Facebook here, or like TikTok here, right? Yeah. And then you have like, I don't know, like a relationship here. You have like, I don't know, like if you're like drinking here. If you, I mean, you're doing all these things, right? Yeah. Like you're only ever like, you're doing all these things. You're getting very little done in all of these things. Yeah. Because your time is being distracted by all these things, versus like some people, they just focus on one thing. Yeah. And they don't focus on any like all this stuff is just like to them it just like doesn't exist. They just like they're like I'm not even gonna bother doing any of this. So I don't know.
I think part of it is also that like some of the things that like people focus on, they focus on it because they think they should, not because it necessarily fulfills who they are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is where like all the doom scrolling short hits of dopamine come in, right? Yeah. And so, maybe like, I mean, I don't know who came in second place after Michael Phelps, you know? Yeah. Like, do you know? No, I don't know their name. Like, but yeah, I mean, the person who came in second place to Michael Phelps, right? He's probably doing everything right, you know? But he might have just had like one more distraction. Yeah. Right? So he just didn't get to that. Maybe he had like 99% of his focus on swimming, and then like that 1% was off. And I'm just using Michael Phelps as an example because I've been getting into swimming lately. Yeah. So.
Also, Michael Phelps looks like a shark, right? Like,
yeah.
Got the aerodynamics.
Dude, his body's crazy, man. He also had this quote, man. He's like for every day. He used to say like every day I wasn't in the pool, it would take me 2 days to catch back up to where I was before. Yeah. That's so powerful, man. That's a powerful thing about consistency and like staying consistent on like on your path.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting in terms of like, I feel like a lot of these like hyper athletes and like even people like I think on your like probably just kind of your day to day that like end up doing like really amazing at one thing. I never actually see them like resting.
They don't. Right. Kobe, dude. Kobe never rests. Kobe was in the gym at like 4 a.m. shooting shots.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because like the advice that you get is that you should take rest days.
You should, yeah.
Right. But then yet these people like they just don't. They're just like always going, and it may be that it's there was those studies that were done where basically a person, if you asked like a group of people to like not do anything. And then you had another group of people to like imagine like doing curls and push-ups. They still ended up like the people who were just kind of doing the imagine portion
got some results, right?
Yeah.
That is such a crazy thing because your brain. I just had this conversation the other day with a friend of mine. Your brain can't tell the difference if you're like imagining something versus if you're doing it in real life, right? Right. And so. If you imagine, let's say like a traumatic scenario happened, every time you imagine the scenario, your brain is taking your body through that trauma every single time. Right. And so, I mean, that's how it's working against you. But like what you said, that's how you can have your brain work for you. Like imagine doing visualizing positive things instead of visualizing negative things.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like it makes sense a lot. Like when you think of like kids, right? Yeah. They have like imaginary friends, and they can't like tell the difference between the imaginary friend and the real friends they have. Yeah.
It's powerful, man. The brain, the subconscious is, and I feel like we haven't even unlocked that piece of. We haven't unlocked anything there yet. There's so much to learn. Yeah,
and I think it's also, I guess. Although this is slight tangent back, there was you were talking about like when people like form beliefs and they hear something and just because it like sounds real,
good,
It's I feel like with like have you been using ChatGPT at all?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like weird things that you can like ask ChatGPT and it just like it'll blurt out like an answer, and it'll be grabbing like information from like all across the web, and even sources that aren't like the most legitimate.
Yeah.
And it has such a propensity to like convince people of like certain kind of
Yep.
unalienable facts of the
Yep.
world that aren't
Yeah.
really aren't real.
Yeah. Is that what those are? What hallucinations are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was one about rocks
Uh-huh.
or eating a rock a day.
Eating a rock a day.
Yeah, so I forgot what like the way the setup worked, but apparently some journalist was like having a conversation with ChatGPT and asked us, hey, how many rocks should I eat per day?
Wow.
Right? And it like scoured the web, found like this one Reddit post, and basically like said, oh, you should have 1 serving of rocks per day.
Wow.
To like keep a healthy and balanced diet, right?
Wow, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and I guess just so everyone knows, like, do not eat
Don't eat rocks. Yeah. Not medical advice. Don't eat
Right.
rocks.
But but there's that portion of it. There's like the breatharians who think that they can like survive off just
breathing. Yeah.
There's like, and as like I think as like AI becomes better at like knowing what we'll believe and what we'll like take into like to be fact, that it'll just kind of like spread into those worlds, and there'll be more things that people just do because they were just told that hey,
They were just and because it sounds good.
right.
Right? Like, it sounds good. Oh, yeah, like, egg yolks will cause you to, like, clog your arteries.
Yeah.
Because, like, but egg whites are healthy.
Yeah.
It just sounds good, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, it's like, egg yolks are the most nutritious part of the egg.
Yeah.
And, like, you should be eating that.
Yeah.
Also, not medical advice, but, like, come on. Like, low-key, right?
Yeah.
Everything just sounds good, right? They're
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, like
Yeah.
all the stuff that we've been told is like bad. It's just because it sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, there's even like the stuff of like the kung fu masters, right? Like you have this idea of them like training for like eons of becoming like perfect at their craft, in that they could like beat any like pretty much anyone in the world, and you get these movies about them like going up against like
100 people, like Ip Man and stuff.
right?
Yeah.
And then they go into like an actual martial artist master will go into like the UFC ring and then just get completely
Obliterated,
demolished, right? And even with like kind of in the same vein like Shaolin monks, right? Like they'll like train their skins, and it's like it is amazing like piece of like that they can train themselves so much that they could like potentially have like harder skin or like rip a bamboo tree with just their hands. But then also, what are like the consequences of like training your body like that?
And your mind.
Right.
Yeah. Dang. That is true, man. You never know what the long-term effects could be.
Yeah.
But in the short term, everything sounds good, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I can break a tree with my bare hand? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
When you're 80, it's like, yeah, you have osteoporosis or whatever.
Yeah. Although I wonder, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger seems fine, right? Like,
Yeah, and that dude like has been doing steroids since like the 80s, right?
Right. Yeah. He seems like he's
Allegedly.
He's in I think he's admitted it, right?
Oh no, he has. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you also can't look like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started bodybuilding. Not bodybuilding. When I first started working out, you know, I mean, old previous era. You know, it was before we even met. But like I remember, I was just like, I was like, oh yeah, like Arnold's totally natural.
Yeah.
Nah,
No,
bro.
no.
Like if the dude at LA Fitness next to you squatting like 500 pounds is on juice, like Arnold's definitely on some juice. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's 70 years old or like 75 years old or something like that, and he doesn't look like good.
Yeah.
But like
he
looks like he has everything.
Everything's on point. Yeah.
He has videos of him like working out that come out like all the time.
Yeah.
Same with like all of those like those stars from the like 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Like Schwarzenegger, Van Damme.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, Sylvester Stallone looks great too. Yeah, you're right. I don't know, man. I don't know what's up with that. Also, these guys are like super rich. They probably have really good doctors.
That's fair.
Yeah, and they might have some medicine that like hasn't came out yet.
Yeah. Well, if that was the case, like, maybe getting a little like too political here, but like, Biden, you would think would have all the money.
Oh, dude, bro, there's no way that dude's making any decisions. Like, I mean, I'm very impartial, but like, I can read. Yeah. You can read the writing on the wall, dude. Yeah. Like, dude is struggling.
Yeah. No, did you watch the debate?
I didn't. I watched like the 2-minute highlights.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I like overall, I get gaffes and stuff happen, and then they're both like incredibly old. Right? Yes,
dude. But, they're both in their late 70s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
just young dude in there.
The look in his eyes, right? Yeah. You're just like. He definitely needed like a shot of something to like energize him back up. Or something.
Yeah. Not a shot of coffee. Not a shot of espresso. We're talking a different type of shot. Yeah, man. I definitely think. I mean, also, I haven't personally, I don't think my life has been impacted by who the president is ever. Yeah. I mean, sure, when Obama was president, maybe whatever, like there was like a little bit less racism, right? Whatever, but like even when Trump became president, even by like, I don't think we can blame our whatever's going on in our life. Like we can't tie like whatever's going on in our life that's negative to like, oh yeah, like I'm like this is like my life is like this because of the president. I'm like, you gotta take some responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think the president does like it sets a tone for the country. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's so many people are doing so much work that has nothing to do with the politics of the situation. Yeah. That impact how the rest of the country, like its quality of life, is kind of being sustained.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, so I used to live in Memphis, Tennessee.
That's right.
And it's probably one of the, in terms of like, if you were to look at like the bottom 25% of Memphis, they're probably the poorest in the nation, right? But if you go out and like look at like the civil society piece of Memphis, it's probably one of the best in the country, I think.
Wow.
Is that there's just so many people that are like working to help each other out. Yeah. And there's one place called Binghamton, and before I went to college, I think it was a area in Memphis that was in dire straits. There was like a community that kind of came around together. Even though like the population didn't have a lot of money, they were able to like clean up the streets. They were able to make sure that everything was like rebuilt. They helped people like paint some of the fences, I believe. There's a guy, Anthony, I'm blanking on his last name. He like got and this wasn't in Binghamton, but this was just in Memphis in general. Yeah. He got a green line implemented so that people could have a place to like bike and just be more like healthy overall.
Nice. Yeah.
And so like
all these little things that added up into something beneficial.
Yeah. And so like even though there are things that connect to the politics, right? Like to get a bike route in place, he had to like go through the city council and like go through all of the logistics of like getting that in place. It's an individual who was doing something to just benefit the people he cared about.
Yeah, very selfless act.
Right. And it didn't matter who the president was, right? And it didn't matter who like the Tennessee Senate member was or anything like that. It was just that he wanted to do something good, so he went out and did it.
Yeah. That's it. That's great idea to live by. Yeah. You want to do something good, if you want to see a change, like just do it. Yeah. The homie Gandhi said that. Back in the day.
Although there's a little bit of controversy nowadays with
Is
Gandhi.
It really? With Gandhi?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think.
I also don't watch. I haven't watched the news in 10 years, so I don't really know what's going on until people tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I
make my own decisions. I come to my own conclusions, which people don't like, but it is what it is. Yeah. So,
I think it's. I mean, I also don't know like all of the details, but apparently it was just the way or the form that the nationalist movement that Gandhi had, like. The way it took place wasn't like necessarily beneficial for like everyone, right?
Oh, gotcha.
But again, it was a time in which they were like fighting off oppression, so it's hard to like know what parts of it were necessity versus like what parts of it were like just bad ideology and which parts of it were like
actually good.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, that's something I never even thought about because. that's probably like another thing that just like sounds good. It's like, oh yeah, Gandhi like freed India or whatever, you know? Like that's just we just hear it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's it. We just take it at face value.
Yeah, there's that saying, right? Never get to know your heroes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't think I've ever met any of my heroes, man.
Yeah.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, and I also think it's one of those things. The other side of it's also true. It's the saying, any hero that lives long enough to see himself become the villain.
Yeah. That's the Dark Knight quote, right?
Yeah.
That's also in what's it? In the song "So Appalled," like Jay-Z Jay-Z has a line. He's like Dark Knight feeling, either die or be a hero, or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. I went from the favorite to the most hated. Would you rather be underpaid or overrated?
Yeah.
It's true, man. It's true. It's true. That's why he dumbed down for his audience.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that I think a lot of people will probably disagree with me about this, but I think in a sense you should just like remember the good about people sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like just forget about like I know that there's a lot of people that have like a lot of controversies about them, a lot of like things that may not kind of be all above board all the time.
Yeah.
But I think it's like good to remember the hope in people.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Or like keep the hope alive.
Yeah. Like all the benefit stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I remember all the good things about Kobe.
Yeah.
Not the bad. Yeah. Man, when did you move straight from Memphis to Texas, or did you were you somewhere in between?
Yeah, so I was born in Karachi, lived there for like 3 years.
Yeah, same. 5 years, but yeah, same thing.
Yeah. We moved to Knoxville, I think, for like a year or so. Then went to Memphis, Tennessee, and then lived in Memphis until I was like 24, 25, somewhere around there. So I did both my like bachelor's and master's there, and then ended up moving to Dallas with my parents like 2017, 2018, something like somewhere around there.
Because you and I met the year after. I think we met in 2019.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Good times, man.
Have you been in Dallas your whole life, or?
Pretty much, man. Same thing. Karachi until 2000.
Yeah.
We moved to Chicago for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then down in DFW ever since.
Yeah.
So pretty much been here for, a long time, like 20-something years now.
Have you? So this is one thing that I like talked about with. So I had one podcast with my cousin Zishan. He's a Canadian Pakistani.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so when he moved from, so he was from Pakistan, moved to the United States, and then moved to Canada, right? And then he ended up going back to Pakistan for I think the first time like a few years ago. And like really connected with his like Pakistani identity.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. Because he went as an adult.
Yeah, he went as an
adult.
That's
big. That's important.
Right. And I was talking to Jenna Kareem earlier this week, and she also like talked about like her identity as like a Muslim and as like a I don't know if she's from Pakistan. She might be from India. But we kind of had like a side conversation about like what she kind of associated with her identity, right?
Right.
Do you like view yourself kind of in that like that realm as well? Like, do you connect a lot with your like Desi personality or like identity?
Man, I don't know. Like I think it's mostly like a little bit, yes, but I think I just been so. I mean, like moving. I'm 29 now, living in America for 24 years. Like, I don't really remember much from back then. Yeah. I've been back twice, for sure. And I went back when I was 14, and then I went back when I was 19. So last time I went was 10 years ago. And I think, like, Pakistan is a different place now, like 10 years later. But, yeah, I mean, like, at home, my parents will speak Urdu, and I'll respond to them in English. You know, there's that. There's, like, still going to prayer and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, man. I can't eat brown food anymore because of my gut. Brown movies are like 9 hours long, so I don't watch them. I don't really listen to brown music unless like somebody plays it in the car or like at a wedding. But at the end of the day, it's like I know where I'm from for sure. Like I know where I came from. Like I still like like the like we used to live right next to Garden Jamathkana, like Nurani View Apartments, right? It's like walking distance away. So anytime I meet somebody else from Karachi, like I can vibe with them on that.
Yeah.
Or like somebody else that's like from the motherland, right? And I appreciate. I'm glad we moved. I'm glad we're not there. Right.
Okay.
I'm really like every time I go back, it really makes me appreciate the life I have now. But as for like connecting with that identity, like I think it's still there, but it's not like the first thing I think of. Like I don't think of myself as like, oh, I'm a Pakistani American, right?
Yeah.
I still think I just say I'm Pakistani. I'm just like, oh yeah, whatever. I'm from Pakistan. But I don't like. I'm not doing anything for like the community, I'm not like doing any outreach, I'm not doing anything crazy from that sense. But yeah, it's still there. It's just not very prominent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost sometimes like want. So I was born in like Pakistan, and I like my dad is definitely very active in like terms of like knowing what's going on in Pakistan. He like cares a lot about the politics about it. He's always watching the news and trying to figure out what's going on there.
Reading Dawn newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he'll call into like some of the news stations and radios and like just have like random conversations. Twitter has X now has X Spaces.
Oh, okay,
right?
yeah.
And so he'll like jump on some of those and like have conversations with people in Pakistan about what's going on there.
Dang.
But like in terms of like what I connect with, I don't like I watch Bollywood films, which is not even really like Pakistani. Right?
Yeah, it's Indian, right? Technically, yeah.
And even though there's a lot of like I think Pakistani like music in Bollywood, I don't I feel like it's just I almost feel like I know more about Indian culture than I do about like Pakistani culture. Right, and like what I do know about Pakistan, like if someone told me, "Oh no, that's actually what like Indians do," I'd be like, "Okay, yeah, sure, probably."
Yeah, you believe it because it sounds good, right? Yeah.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you. Yeah, and it's like whenever that's a really thought provoking question. I don't think I've ever been asked that before, because it's like, what do we consider our like I know where I'm from. I know like what my parents did. I know what my grandparents did. Yeah. And like I kind of know what my great grandparents did, but before that, I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even like for me, for even being in the United States, I don't know how much I like would qualify myself even as like 100% American. Right? Because there's a lot about like American culture that I think I like being the skin color that I am, and being like being the religion that I am, and being the like living in these places that I've lived, and the amount of like interactions that I've had, would I like consider myself like having experienced the American experience?
You would or you wouldn't?
I don't think I would.
You don't think you would consider having the American experience?
Yeah, like I think I lived a very like sheltered life to the point where I got exposed to like Pakistani culture through my family.
Yeah.
And then I never got exposed to like US culture because I was like I stayed sheltered between like going to so Memphis has this thing called the optional program. I think they might have shut it down now. I don't know if it's still around, but it was basically like they took people who were, I guess, a little bit better in terms of like the test taking and like grades, and put them in a separate like category than like the quote unquote traditional program.
Right. Yeah.
And so like majority of the people in the optional program, I think, at least my friends, were like they were Asian.
Yeah.
There was a large like Jewish portion of it. There was a large like the African portion of it was like actually from different parts in Africa. There were a lot of Indians in it. There were a lot of like it was a very like
diverse,
right. But if you looked at, and this might just be because of the population of Memphis in general, but if you look at the traditional program, it was mostly African Americans, right?
Right.
So the people that I like generally interacted with were not what would be the demographic that you would consider like predominant in Memphis,
Right.
right?
Right.
So like, and so I just kind of felt like I never connected to being a Memphian.
Yeah.
Because, until I hit like college,
Right.
because I wasn't actually interacting with the city. I was interacting with this like
Specific
cutoff
group of, like you were interacting with like your like the people that you were hanging out with because of the place you were in school at the time.
Yeah, and it almost
Wow, that makes sense.
yeah. And it almost kind of feels like what I mean. I think everyone's like whenever you go to like some of the bigger cities, there's usually like a Chinatown.
Yeah.
There's I don't know, a little Korea.
K-Town.
K-Town. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the Indian area. Yeah.
Machi Bazaar, is that what they call it? Or
Fish market.
yeah, I think that's what they
That's
call
what
it.
it is. That's what that translates to roughly, right?
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's Mirchi. That makes more sense.
Oh, Mirchi Bazaar.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Pepper Bazaar.
Pepper Bazaar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pepper
Or
shop.
Pepper Market.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's really interesting. Like having that. Yeah, having a very like unique, like kind of almost closed off experience because of how smart you were. You got put with the other people that were in that demographic.
Yeah. Although I don't know if it was necessarily like how. Yeah, there's like that. There was that like study that was done in the '90s, right? Where like they had a bunch of blue-eyed kids, and they told like the blue-eyed kids that hey, you're like super smart compared to like the brown-eyed kids, and then the blue-eyed kids ended up doing way better on their test scores.
Oh wow!
And then they like flipped the narrative, and then the brown-eyed kids ended up doing better.
Wow.
Yeah, and so like I think it might be kind of like a similar thing where like I was just in the group that they told
Hey, you guys are smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess. Yeah, I mean, growing up, I like going to public school and not really taking. I would take it like. I had like a mixed interaction. I would take like an AP class, but like the rest of my classes would be like regulars classes.
Yeah.
I'd take like one AP class a year, and then so I get like interact with all like the normal public school people, and then like in the AP classes, it was like all the Asians, all the Indians, and then like some really smart white people.
Yeah.
And I felt behind because I was like, dude, I was getting C's in that class, but I was getting A's in the regular class.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, but it was definitely a good mix, good mix experience.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of go off like the segregation like piece of it, like I think a lot of communities like come together and they like come to the U.S. and then they kind of form their own wall.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
that is very factual. Yeah, dude, Smileys are crazy at it. Yeah.
Right. And I do wonder like why that is at the end of the day, because I mean I understand you want to see the familiar.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time...
Tribal, I guess.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, I mean, I feel like when I see, like, most people interact with each other, regardless of their, like, race, gender, ethnicity, whatever you kind of want to, like, identifiers you want to attach to a person, like, I feel like most people get along when they're, like, hanging out, like, one-on-one or, like, in a group. Right? Like, I feel like most people don't... Like, if a person gets an opportunity to know another person, they'll generally like the other person. Yep. Right? And yet, a lot of our, like, systems in place seem to, like, cut people off.
Contradict it, yeah. Yeah, I think that's one... I think the only, like, there's, like, racism, there's, like, whatever, there's all these different ways where people see each other separately. Yeah. You know, it's like, oh, this person is different because of the color of their skin. Yeah. Oh, this person is different because of, like, what college they went to. Yeah. This person's different because of their eye color, right? Yeah. But it's like, dog, we're all like middle class. Like, what do you mean, right? Like, what are you trying like we're all here, right? Like there's like the classes, right? Like the middle class, upper class, and then the ultra rich people, right? But it's like, dude, we're all like in the same. We all live the same experience. Yeah. We all grew up in the same place, right? If you're going to middle school with somebody, like, you kind of living in the almost same neighborhood, right? Yeah. But yeah, people still find a way to. I think that's the thing. People will always find, like, that's why like negative energy has such a harder, like, gravitational pull. Yeah. I know you're a physics major. There's no such thing as gravitational pull on energy, but
Yeah, I
like
mean, there.
yeah, on like aura,
But,
like on like aura, right, or like on like a feeling or
yeah.
whatever. Like, but like negative energy will always have like a higher pull than like positive energy, and so like, and and you're laughing because like in physics because they're like 50-50, right, or whatever. But like negative attitudes will always like pull down positive attitudes.
Yeah.
So like people always try to find something different. People always try to find something negative. People always try to find a flaw or a fault or something like oh man, like how can I break this person down just a little bit to like push myself up, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, I
that's
think,
why you got to hang around with people that are all up here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like it's just a thing of human mentality, right? Is I think like people tend to fixate on things that like give them a larger negative arise or emotional arise. In
yes,
them, right?
yeah,
Like, I guess it's the same thing that you were like mentioned earlier about trauma for the most part, right? Like if you keep on reliving the same like events, it like because your mind can't separate the pain of the like imagination from the pain of reality, you kind of just get stuck in that well.
yep, exactly, yeah, and you can relive positive things too. But
Yeah.
most people don't do that. Yeah.
Although I don't know if it like has as like I know we talked about like the working out piece.
Oh
But
yeah,
like,
yeah.
But I think if I like I don't know if I kind of think of like myself and I think about like oh if I if I really wanted something to happen, like say I really wanted an ice cream cone, like me imagining the ice cream cone.
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
not gonna make it appear. Yeah.
Right. Well, like I'll definitely like be happy about like oh I'm gonna go get an ice cream
Yeah,
cone at some point, right?
yeah.
And then if I like imagine someone like stepping on my ice cream cone, right?
Yeah.
Like me wanting to go get the ice cream cone will make me happy until I'm like distracted.
Yeah.
Right. Someone like stepping on my ice cream cone, like that will ruin the day for me. Right.
Yeah,
Even though it
exactly.
didn't happen.
Even though it didn't happen, or like you know how sometimes people. This is like a great test to see where you're at from like a presence and meditative perspective and all that, right? It's like if someone cuts you off in traffic or like someone honks at you or like someone does something to upset you.
Yeah.
How long do you think about it?
Yeah.
Like how long can you is that all you think about the rest of the day, or do you like get over it quickly, right?
Yeah.
And great example. Last week I was leaving a Boy Scout meeting, and I had to go to my uncle's house right after that. There was some event going on at Chamathkana where they had like water balloons and stuff.
Yeah.
And like one of my Boy Scouts decides to like run up behind me as I'm walking to my car and like throw a water balloon at me when I'm like changed out of my clothes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude. He thought it was funny, and I was like, dude, I'm about to go see my family, and you just like ruined my only clothes I have.
Yeah.
Like, think about your actions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and he probably thought about that the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And then like I definitely like as I'm driving, I'm soaked, so I'm of course thinking about it too, and I'm like, dude, what the heck, bro? Like, why these kids have no respect, blah 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 blah. But like for him, it's like, oh, it was just a fun thing to do, right? But I'm thinking about it during the entire drive there, and then when I get to the place, like I stop thinking about it. I see my family, and it's whatever, and I don't really give it any more thought. But the whole like 30-minute drive there, I'm fuming at it, right? Yeah. But in reality, I should have thought about it for like a little bit and like gotten over it in 5 minutes, right? Same thing when someone cuts you off in traffic. It's like a lot of people will let that ruin the rest of their day, and then they'll like talk to their friend and be like, "Oh, you'll never guess like this asshole cut me off in traffic," like, and I was just like minding my own business, and then like their friend will be like, "Oh yeah, fuck that dude," like whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, I feel like just the more you think about something, the more you like delve into it, the more you kind of go down that rabbit hole of the more negative impact it'll have on your day.
Yeah, there's a Stoic saying that's wish for things to be as they are rather than as you wish them to be.
Oh, that's so good. Right. Yeah.
And I like it a lot because it's like it's not that you don't like have emotional responses to stuff. It's just that the emotion is just as fleeting as like the event itself, right? And then you're just like, this is a breath of experience that I got to have today, and that's it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing good about it. There's nothing bad about it. It just is.
It just is. It is as it is, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of the fuck yeah concrete meme,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or there's like that one flower who's like sad. It's like, oh, the pH in the soil is like off by 0.02, and it's like making my whatever. And it's like in this beautiful garden.
Yeah.
And then there's like a weed poking through like the crack in concrete.
Yeah.
And it's like just sprouting, and then like it's like fuck yeah concrete, right? And the flower is like energetic, and it's like that's the attitude you should have for everything, right?
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's just as so like if there's a weed sticking out in the garden,
Yeah.
right, and you're like fixating on the weed,
Yeah, you're forgetting. Oh, good. Yeah,
but I think it's almost it's probably just as bad to focus in a garden full of weeds to focus on the flower.
I agree. Yeah,
Right? Like
Yeah.
it's not just it's not just it's not as though you're just supposed to fixate on the good.
yeah,
Or that you're just supposed to fixate on the bad. It's that you're supposed to fixate on neither.
exactly. It's
Right.
just because both are gonna happen. You're gonna have
Yeah.
weeds, and you're gonna have flowers in your
Yeah.
life, right?
Yeah.
But the best thing to do is just like, appreciate the flower while it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of the weeds as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't let the weeds ruin your day by saying, "Oh man, look at all these weeds," and then you just go inside your house.
Yeah.
Like, take care of the weeds,
Yeah.
and then appreciate the flower as well. Like, so it's a little bit of both, like the ups and downs. How do you usually handle like big? You know how like you go about your day,
Mm-hmm.
and like you'll see like it's like most of your day is just like this, right?
Yeah.
And then like something either like you get like a really positive momentum swing, like a positive emotional swing, or like a negative emotional swing.
Yeah.
How do you handle it like in the moment? Like, someone gives you like $100, it's like, oh my god, this is amazing, right? And then someone just like hits your car and it's their fault. Like like those are two pretty big examples, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think like growing up, I was like very used to like not having just emotional responses.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think overall, like I think I used to be like very muted overall. Like if something like bad happened, I just wouldn't feel it, and then if something good happened, I just wouldn't feel it.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah, and then as I've like gotten older, and I think as I've like gotten more in like tune with my like emotions overall, I think what it's like generally happened is that like I've gotten better at that like emotional regulation where like when something bad does happen, I like feel it. I realize like why I like don't or did like why I felt bad about it, and then like I'll stew over it for a little bit, and then it'll just be gone within like an hour or so.
Yeah,
right?
wow, that's good.
And I think that a lot of that is like when I have like a strong emotional response to something, I just don't do anything else, right? And I think that like, and even though that's like somewhat like counterintuitive,
You like sit there with it.
yeah, and then you just process it.
Process
naturally.
it, yeah.
And then you're just
As it
done
happens,
with it.
yeah.
And then, like, I feel like a lot of the times when I was like younger, it was like, oh, I would have like a bad emotional response, and then I would like jump into a video game and never process it.
Just you distract yourself.
Right.
You'd like find something to take your mind off of it.
Right, and then it would just like pop up in my head again at some point, or like I would just like my experience throughout like a week might be like really crappy, and I wouldn't realize why it's crappy.
Right.
Right, and then but if I just take the time to like just sit there and be like, okay, yeah, this is how I feel, and that's like whatever it is, right, and then I'm done with it by the end.
Like fully experiencing the emotion in the moment.
Yeah.
That's really smart, man. That takes a lot of emotional maturity to handle right there and then. I don't think a lot of people can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a lot harder.
Oh, it's tough. Yeah, it's a hard thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why you gotta do more hard things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't take the easy way out
Yeah.
of things. Even though it's like nice, or like right there and then, you're just
Yeah.
like, oh man, I can just I'm hungry. I can just go to Chick-fil-A real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do not control the food aspect of it as much as I should.
I was just about to ask, man. We in Frisco. You trying to go to Jen after this?
I would definitely be down though.
You down? Are you doing anything after this?
No, I'm not.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could definitely do some Korean barbecue. The short ribs.
Oh,
So
dude, yeah,
good.
bro. Lately, I've been my gut has been. Well, I mean, my gut has been I've had the issues for forever, but not for like past 5 years. But like lately, like I've been kind of in and out of a flare, and like I've been like really limiting like marinated stuff. So last couple times I've been to Gen, I've just been ordering like my friends will order whatever, and then I'll just order. I'm just like every time they order something, I'm like, can you add 2 plates of brisket just plain on that as well? And so I'll just sit there. I'll like be out like eating 7 plates of brisket. Yeah, so
it's so good.
brisket and short rib, bro. Let's do it. Let's
I'm
run
down.
it. Yeah. I know Zarek wanted to hang out. I said we'll hit him up later.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's a great thing to do, to like force yourself to do the hard thing.
Yeah.
Because the hard thing is hard. It's hard in the short term, but it's easy in the long term. Whereas if you do the easy thing in the
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little addicted to the Healthy Gamer podcast overall, and like one of the things that he like suggested is that like with like dopamine in particular, he does it as like a lemon analogy. So like when you cut a lemon and you like squeeze it initially, it's very easy to like
get the juice out.
Get the juice out, right? But like as you go
I remember
on,
this. I remember this. Yeah. Go ahead.
As you go on, it just becomes harder and harder.
Yeah.
And so like at the beginning of the day, you should do the things that like
are the hardest.
The hardest, because those will get you the most like dopamine hits. And then the things that are like easy, you should kind of hold to the end of the day.
That's what I like listened to that podcast while I was working, and like that morning I had beat off, and so you do that, and all the dopamine just goes like just gone, and then like during the workday you're like, dude, this sucks. Yeah. So now like keeping your phone phone outside of the room while you work is the biggest thing, unless like you work a job where you need to be on the phone all the time. Yeah. But just knocking out all the work stuff, and then after after you're done with all the stuff, then like doing everything else is big.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just with like in regards to my mood, I've realized that like weeks where I have like a high phone screen time, I just feel way worse than in weeks where I have like low screen time. Yeah. But I think it's also just like being kind of intentional about what you're like if you get the hard stuff done in the morning, you just feel better. Or you feel like you got something done. Yeah, you got tasks accomplished, and then your reward system rewards you for doing hard things. Right. Yeah, like one of the things that I have a really bad habit about is that like I'll like if there's something that I want to work on, and I didn't get it done that day. If I didn't get it done in like the morning in particular, I'll like. Get home, I'll be like, okay, I want to complete this extra thing because I just didn't complete enough today, right? And then I'll keep on thinking about that thing, but I won't do it. You'll think about it. I'll just think about it until like midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, I'm just tired now. And you're like, I got to do this tomorrow, yeah. And it's like, I ruined my sleep, I ruined my like state of mind, and then I also ruined the next day just because like I didn't do that thing in the morning. Dang, that's tough, man. Yeah. Doing the hard thing in the beginning of the day is always the easiest. There's been days like lately the only streak I've been like counting is like my meditation streak, and like yesterday was the first day I missed it in like a week and a half. Yeah. And it's crazy, man. It's just 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes unguided meditation, right? But you miss it and you're just like, you just think about it, you're like, man, how did I go the whole day without meditating? Yeah. And then you wake up in the morning and you're like, all right, this is the first thing I want to do. And then I forget, I didn't do it this morning. I'm going to do it when I get home, as I say now. But like, it's just such an easy thing to do, like first thing in the morning, and then we just don't do it. Yeah. So. This might be a little bit of like TMI, but I've been recently like, and I know this is just a bad habit, but I usually take my cell phone into the bathroom with me. Yeah, same. Yeah. But I've been like leaving it out recently. Yeah. But once I'm like done, sometimes I'll just like stay there and just stare at the wall. For a while, and it just like I feel so much better at the end of it. Bro, staring at a wall is, dude, if you, like, I'm gonna put you on some game. If you literally just sit down and like just stare at a wall for like 10 minutes, you just stare at a wall for 10 minutes, it'll change your life, bro. Yeah. Like, I'm not even kidding. Yeah. That's why those pictures of those monks just like sitting by candlelight staring at a wall for hours. Yeah. Apparently that's dangerous though. Like you tell me, right? Yeah. So there's like there's the like the mental dangerous part of it, But apparently, there's like a type of meditation where you sit in a dark room and there's like a candle in the center of it, and you stare at the flame.
Yeah. I've heard about that type of meditation. I've never done it, but yeah.
Yeah. So apparently, like you should have someone because apparently it can because of and I don't know like the science behind it, but it has something to do with like the way that the luminosity of the flame kind of contrasts the luminosity
Darkness.
of the rest of the room. It can if you do it for too long or if you do it like in improper way, it can actually like damage your eyes.
Oh wow, that does make sense. Like staring at the sun.
Yeah.
Can mess you up.
But it's apparently there's a lot of like forms of meditation that have come out of out of India, and I guess I assume probably out of this maybe me being like stereotypical or like stereotyping, but also coming out of like China and Nepal.
Yeah. Indeed, Buddhists meditate. Yeah, I think you're on point.
Yeah,
no stereotype at all.
But there's like so many weird ones that like kind of come out that like kind of contradict or go against like the grain of meditation that you like normally think about, right? Like there's so I've been diagnosed with like ADHD, and one of the things that one of the forms of meditation that I heard about that's kind of like specific to like that, or maybe not specific to ADHD, but definitely like or maybe one that kind of aids in it a little bit more, is that instead of kind of letting your thoughts like fleet and letting like kind of your mind like kind of clear itself out, you like focus on as many things as you can.
Wow.
Right? So you basically like think about the way that like this table is feeling on my elbows, or the way that the shirt is feeling on my back, the way that I'm hearing.
That's like the presence meditation, right? Yeah.
And you're focusing on so many different things that your brain actually just becomes exhausted.
Yeah.
And it just like gets you in that meditation.
Yeah, it's just like your brain's just like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm tired. Yeah. It's kind of good. Yeah, exhausting your brain to. That's why. Have you ever had like just a crazy workout where you're just like dead afterwards?
Yeah.
And there's just like extreme feeling of calm.
Yeah.
That comes over you.
Yeah.
Like physical exhaustion will lead to mental clarity.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how it works.
Yeah. So I'm not in the best shape of my life right now. Like I'm definitely probably in the closest to the worst shape in my life right now. But I remember when I first worked out, like had like a serious workout in my life. I did it with this guy that he was. It was in college. It was my freshman year of college. I think he was a junior or a senior. He was just like huge guy. He was like 6'2", super jacked. I worked out with him, and I didn't have like a notion of, oh, my body can't do this, right? So I just like tried to keep up with him on everything.
Oh,
right?
wow.
And it was an hour and 30-minute workout.
Yeah.
I felt like great right after it. I woke up the next morning, and I was like stuck in the T-Rex pose.
Oh no.
Right? But like, even though like I was in a lot of pain and like every muscle hurt,
Everything, yeah.
like mentally I felt like great.
Yeah.
Right?
It's nuts how that works. Like you'd be physically like defeated, and then your brain will be like, wow, I felt great.
Yeah.
Because you accomplished a lot, right? Like you did what your body didn't think it could do.
Yeah. There was another guy I was like 150 when I was in college, like junior year or so. And so I was like in fairly good shape. Not like amazing shape, but like a lot better than I've been in most parts of my life. I had a roommate that he was a pescatarian, and he used to wake me up in the mornings. We would go on a like run together, and we would get back, and we would only eat like just primarily vegetarian diet, although we would occasionally have fish. Yeah. I was like eating tomato soup for like majority of my meals.
Wow.
But I felt like great after it because like I was just physically exhausted. I was getting my like protein and everything from the fish, and like I guess in terms of like all the other vitamins and minerals, I was like staying light with the vegetables. And so when I was like running, I actually just felt like I was running.
Felt right, like yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
Felt like you weren't weighed down by anything.
Right. Yeah. And so it was just kind of amazing, like how like mentally clearer I felt because I was like exercising like on a regular basis. Like even now, like I realize that if I were to like go to the gym, a lot of like what might be considered like mental fog would probably like
Oh yeah.
dissipate away.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that's really important. I think any type of physical activity is really good to get rid of brain fog.
Yeah.
Really clears up some of the dust, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Are you working out anywhere these days? Still have a lifetime membership?
No, I actually ended it this month because I just wasn't going.
Gotcha.
I think part of it for me right now is I need to figure out how to like balance it with my work.
Oh,
because
yeah, that's tough.
I'm like because I live an hour and a half from my office, right?
Commuting, man.
Yeah, so like 3 hours of my day go into driving.
Dang.
And even though I know it's not necessarily an excuse, like I could still like go to the gym.
Yeah, but it's just hard, dude.
Yeah.
That's 90 minutes each way.
Yeah.
We need to get you into remote SaaS sales.
Yeah. I know. It's also like slight brag, but I feel like
you like your job. Yeah.
I like my job, and I make enough where like I'm like okay, I'm happy.
All right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That makes so much sense. Yeah. I don't know. I just try to get like I'm always just pushing tech sales on people.
Yeah.
I'm pushing tech into people. Just one of my he's 18 now. He's about to be a freshman in college. My Boy Scouts was like, yeah, I want to be a doctor, and I'm like, cool. Why? And he's like, money. And I was like, how much do you think doctor makes? And he's like, I don't know, like $200K a year. And I was like, and how many years of school like do you have to go through? And he's like 13. I was like, do you think you'd be in a lot of debt? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, what if you could like make similar amounts of money and not be in debt and start working 4 years after? And he's like, yeah, what is that? What do I do? And I was like, yeah, look up SaaS. And he's like, what's that? And I was like, software as a service. And I was like, that's all I said to him. I didn't say anything else. I was like, just go down the rabbit hole. That's it. And yeah, man, I don't know. It's just been such a life-changing blessing on my side, to where like I just genuinely want to help people. Not help people, but like I just want to like let people know, like, hey, there's an option.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you have this option to do this.
Yeah.
So, but that's really cool that you like your job, man. I love my job too. Not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to what you drew on the board earlier, where it's like there's so many things that you can like focus on, and then there's like some people pick one to like kind of excel in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you also have to pick the ones that like you actually enjoy. Like I think so many people become a doctor, like go. I mean, especially with like our community, it's doctor, lawyer, engineer, right?
Yep.
And I think it's a lot of that is because like there's this assumption that these are the things that will get you money, and if you have money,
you have a good life.
You have a good life. You have stability. But it could be that like there's so many other things out there that you can pick that will satisfy what you want to be as a person.
Yeah, and the things that you don't even know exist.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I didn't know what. I mean, I started in my first role was like a business development rep. You know, I was like making cold calls.
Yeah.
At a cybersecurity company, and like I had never heard that term before.
Yeah.
Like I'd never heard business development rep before.
Yeah.
I got in, they're like, oh yeah, you can do a lot of cold calling. I was like, oh okay, cool, yeah, I can do that. And they're like, yeah, how do you handle rejection? I was just like, well, I go out every weekend. I get rejected by girls all the time, so like it wouldn't really. Yeah. I was being so dead ass serious, and they were like, but I was also like embellishing a little bit. I was like trying to be like coy, but like they started laughing so hard, and like we just started talking about like going out and being social and stuff, and I was like, it just ended up working out really well because they're like, oh, this dude can have a conversation, like like that's it, that's pretty much it, and that's how I fell into it. But yeah, man, to each their own on what they want to do.
Right.
Yeah. So, question for you. It's a fun question.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with any two people, dead or alive, from all of history, who would they be and why? History is anything from this moment and backwards.
Okay. All right. I think. So one, I think, would be like maybe Isaac Newton.
Mm-hmm.
And
physics, right?
But I think it's like it's because there's a part of me. So there's like this mysticism that's almost created around like these amazing physicists, right? Mm-hmm. But they all kind of ended up crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla. Newton. Like I think So Tesla fell in love with a bird.
The bird. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Newton like got into this deep hole of alchemy and like trying to turn things into gold.
Yeah.
Right. And even Einstein, like he fell in love with his cousin. There's a lot of things about there's a lot of just like weird stories and weird quotes that are like attributed to him, like the thing about the bees. There's with I'm blanking on the like story, but there's one about like him like basically putting his chauffeur up on the stage and giving his like presentation for him.
Whoa.
Right. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah.
But like, it's just a lot of those. I think are. It would just be cool to be like with an iconic physicist and just like find out like how did they tick during their like prime.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think like the second person would be probably like I guess a leader from I guess some like iconic leader I guess of like a country, right? So I can't I was thinking like maybe it would be like Marcus Aurelius from like the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Or like maybe if like in today's like day and age, like maybe like one of the like dictators and see like what actually like made them like what makes them like tick and why they do what they do.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of me that thinks that like okay, I have this like conception of them being bad people.
Right.
Do they view themselves?
How do they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the beginning of How to Win Friends and Influence People. Who was the gangster from Chicago? Like Al Capone?
Yeah.
Right? He's like, how did Al Capone view himself? And he's like, not that bad of a guy.
Yeah.
Something like that. Maybe it wasn't Al Capone. It's probably someone else.
Yeah, I mean, what I've heard, and again, I don't know like the validity of this because I think I watched this on some podcast, so I don't know like what the background of it is. But what I was told was that like Al Capone during his like prime was like loved by the people. Like, that it wasn't like he was. It was almost like the gangs that the police were just another gang, and it was like this kind of battle for supremacy.
Yeah.
And like Al Capone was trying to like in his like standpoint was like doing what he thought was best for like the Chicago. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, I don't know because like at the same time like he was a gangster, and there is like I don't know what the balance would be, right?
That makes sense. I feel like there's a lot of have you seen those like the troll podcasts? Like where they'll just like say like random shit that's not true, and then they'll just like they'll say it so seriously.
Right.
It's like my hero was Al Capone.
Yeah.
Because I think what he did was just which is very inspiring. Yeah, they'll make up something, and then they'll just clip that part, and then they'll put it up, and like people will like be like, what the fuck, like.
Yeah. It's I've seen like some of those like crazy ones where it's like people ask what came first, the chicken or the egg, but what I know came first was the orange. Isn't that concerning?
It's funny. Yeah. Dang. That's fun, man. Yeah. What time do we get out of here? 1:15?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool. It's like right now. You want to do a quick lightning round?
Yeah.
Questions? All right. What do you like just one sentence and then like one sentence explanation of
the sentence.
Okay. Or if it's like a list of things, just like quick list and then one sentence why.
Okay.
What do you need right now?
I think just getting my sleep in order.
Mm.
Like I feel like that it dictates so much of my life, and it's the one thing that I think I definitely don't have in order.
Dude, literally so this is my journal for today. At the end of every month, I started doing this now, but like at the end of every month, I like will do a quick audit of my everything.
Yeah.
Like of my like sleep, physical activity, screen time, all that stuff. And like sleep is the first thing that I'm gonna do when I get home. Cool. Give me your top 3 favorite movies, like the ones you could watch over and over and over again.
Bacha with Shah Rukh Khan. Equilibrium with
Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Great movie, dude. Great movie. Yeah. Great movie.
And then lastly, I think probably the Dark Knight with
also Christian Bale.
Christian Bale
Ledger.
and Heath Ledger.
Oh man, Heath Ledger. Rest in peace, man. Gone too soon. Any reason why?
Equilibrium, I just love like the combination of 1984 and Fahrenheit 451, right? Like that merger of dystopias is just amazing.
Right.
Bacha, I love like it's an insane movie that's just completely random.
Yeah.
And it has that one song where it's just like him spouting random nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's just I just love it. And then what was the last one I said?
Dark Knight with Heath Ledger.
Yeah, and I think that one's just like
iconic.
Yeah,
acting.
Just the philosophy, the like iconicness, and the like the lack of moral resolution almost at the end. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. What are yours?
Definitely The Prestige.
Okay.
That's number one. Yeah. Man, we love Christian Bale, don't we?
Right.
Prestige for sure. Christopher Nolan, phenomenal director, great acting in that movie. Great like plot twist, make you think a lot.
What's the one that came after?
Which one?
There's The Prestige, and there were 2 movies that were around the same vein, right?
Oh, I can't remember. Was it like a Christian Bale movie, or
yeah, I think it had
or
both.
Christopher Nolan made it.
It had, or it may have had only Wolverine.
Oh, Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman in the second one. I don't remember.
Oh, I don't know.
But
I wish there was a second Prestige movie. That shit was cool as fuck.
Yeah.
So Prestige 1, Ocean's 11 for sure.
Okay.
I'd never get tired of watching that. Like I feel like I always catch something new in that movie.
That's how I learned about Clooney.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. And then third one, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. The original, I think, is Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
Right? Or Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
Right?
Dead Man.
Dead Man's Chest.
It's
Dead
the
Man's
second
Chest.
one.
Dead Man's Chest is the second one?
I think
so.
so.
Curse of the Black Pearl is the first one?
Yeah, I think
so. Okay, cool,
yeah.
So that one, it was like one of the first movies I saw in America, like in theaters. Like, not the first, but like one of the first, right?
Yeah.
Like, aside from like Shrek or whatever the fuck. It was so good, man. I just, like, everything about it. And then in orchestra, we play that, like, in orchestra a lot, like a theme song. It's like my favorite song to play on the cello. It's like the only thing I know how to play on the cello now. But yeah, those 3, man, I could watch over and over again. Do you have like 3 favorite albums you can listen to cover to cover? If not albums, then 3 songs.
Yeah. Probably not albums.
Yeah.
Like I very much like end up doing like songs.
Yeah.
For the most part. I really like or I guess one I don't know if this like necessarily qualifies as an album, but I love the Mural series.
By Lupe?
Yeah.
Dude, man, you're speaking my language right now. Yeah.
Yeah, all 3 of them are just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And then I really love Kinnare, which is a Bollywood song.
Bollywood song, gotcha.
And then lastly, actually, also I don't know if this qualifies as an album, but there's an anime called Kaiju Number 8, and I just love the opening and ending for the.
Oh, like that counts. That counts. Yeah. Man, the Lupe dude, Mural is insane, man. Lupe Fiasco. He just put out an album. Days ago.
I saw it on your Instagram. I think.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually listened to it.
Really good, man. Really like deep, complex, like those Lupe bars. Yeah, literally one of the smartest rappers in the game. Cool. For me, it's albums for sure. Probably like number 1, definitely Reasonable Doubt by Jay-Z. That was Jay-Z's very first album.
Okay.
When he was like spitting he was also spitting like very not like as complex as Lupe, but different, like street complex, I guess.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of bangers on there. I mean, like low-key bangers, like very iconic songs like Can't Knock the Hustle, Politics as Usual, Brooklyn's Finest, where him and like Biggie go back and forth.
Yeah.
Can I Live, where he's like, there's a line in there, he goes like, I'd rather die enormous than live dormant. 9 to 5 is how you survive. I'm not trying to survive. I'm trying to live it to the limit and love it a lot, right? Like there's so many like great like iconic pieces. Like listening as a teenager to that, 1996 Jay-Z was like top tier. But he had to dumb down for his audience, for sure. So that's one. Number 2, Graduation by Kanye West.
Okay.
Literally like every song. That album has no skips. One of the greatest albums. Stronger is on that album.
Yeah.
Flashing Lights is on that album.
Power's on that album as well, right?
Power's on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which is
okay.
like the red one that came out a couple years after.
Okay.
Yeah, Can't Tell Me Nothing is on there. I Wonder is on there. Like there's just so many good songs on there. The song Homecoming is on there. Like everything on that album was like literally like middle school for me was that entire album. Like a lot of good memories. And then number 3, probably be like The Cool by Lupe Fiasco.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually don't think I've heard The Cool.
Really? It's you know the song Superstar?
Yeah.
Or Hip Hop Saved My Life. You know the song?
Yeah, I do.
Those are both off The Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. That one was a really powerful album as well because it was the first time I heard somebody like really lyrical rapping and like not about. He was rapping about. It was like a concept album where he was rapping about like guns and drugs, but like in reality he was rapping about like how all those things are negative, and then like how like it was a really good album. Yeah. And then there's Superstar. There's Hip Hop Saved My Life about like how he tells a story. I really like storytelling rap, right? So it was like a story about how this guy. Like made a freestyle and then like the producer told him to take it down and then like he ended up going viral and like instead of and like he went down the path of being a musician, whereas instead he could have like gone and sold crack his whole life, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think the whole reason I got into Lupe at all was when we went to Atlanta together.
Oh
and,
yeah,
I think you introduced.
We played, yeah. Oh, it was after that.
Yeah,
because we listened to Miss Mural.
Yeah,
and I think we listened to the original Mural, right? Yeah.
And I think that was around the time Mural Jr. came out as well.
Mural Jr. No, it was Miss Mural had came out.
Oh, okay.
Literally that summer. Yeah, because the album that's off of is Drill Music and Zion.
Okay.
And Mural Jr. came out in 2018.
Okay, so it was Mural Jr. and then
Miss Mural.
Okay.
Yeah. Man, great tracks, dude. Yeah. Great tracks. Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun trip, man. I didn't know that's where you discovered Lupe, or that's where I put you on, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Awesome to hear. Favorite thing to do on a rainy day? Favorite way to spend a rainy day?
Probably just watching anime or playing video games. Really.
Video games and taking naps, man. That's my same.
Yeah. I'll sometimes like while watching anime. So I have a big dog, right? He's like a German Shepherd Great Pyrenees mix, so he's like pretty hefty. So like he'll fall asleep behind me when I'm watching like anime or something. So sometimes I'll like just push the chair off to the side and just like sleep on his shoulder while watching anime.
Yeah.
Because he's like big enough to like handle my weight.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's cute. Yeah. Describe your ultimate sandwich.
Okay, so this is probably gonna be really bad. But
no,
like,
you make it up. Yeah, go ahead.
It's just white bread. Pepper jack cheese. Turkey.
And then bread on top.
I would actually prefer to just
fold it.
Just fold it, and that's my.
Hey man, that's a great sandwich.
It's very basic.
Yeah. Dang, I never have an answer for that one. I don't really eat bread anymore, but I don't know.
So
maybe
it would just be brisket, another slice
of
brisket.
It would be. No, it would literally be like I've made it before. Like I made a video of it where it's just like a smash burger beef patty. Like it takes a bunch of ground beef and like smash it right. Yeah. Ground beef, and then like I'll make like an omelet, and then I'll cut it into quarters, and then I'll put the omelet on top, and then I'll put a beef patty on top, and that's it. Yeah.
Would you eat those like lab-grown meat companies?
I don't think so.
No?
Nah, bro. Animals only.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it is technically like it has the cells of an animal.
I don't know, man. I might try it out, but I don't know, bro. I don't really trust stuff that's made in the lab.
Okay. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
There's a company called Memphis Meats that's based out of San Francisco that does lab-grown meats.
They do that? Yeah. Oh, man, I don't know. The same nutritional content as...
That's what they say. I mean, I don't actually know, and I haven't actually had it myself. Yeah. But, they apparently say they apparently do something to make sure that it has, like, the same muscle density and stuff.
Yeah.
And,
Dang. It's the last time some shit came out of a lab and shut down the world for 2 years. So, you know. Had to get one jab in there. But yeah, man, this has been great, man. Do you have anything else from your side?
No, I mean, I guess my last question, I think you kind of answered in the middle of it, which was just where do you want to kind of see the rest of your life headed?
Yeah, man. Like I said, I think I'm a very simple guy, and so I don't think it's like I don't when I said, you know, like a lot of people say I'll be happy when, I don't really believe in that. I think like happiness is a choice. You can choose to be happy anytime you want, and then, you know, not every waking moment of your life is going to be happiness because you're going to have all these other emotions. But I don't know, man. I really want a simple life. Like I honestly see myself like 10 years from now. I really do see myself like just being solo, like being single, having a solid circle of friends. I see us doing way more podcasts. You know, we'll put something on the calendar for 2034 right now.
Sounds good. 10-year reunion.
Yeah, exactly, right. And then, I don't know, man. Maybe I'll still be working in tech. Maybe Bitcoin will have popped off. Maybe I'll have been retired. I don't know. I don't have that much Bitcoin. But like, I don't know, man.
Even a little amount can.
Even a little bit, dude. Even a little bit, man. Maybe like, I mean, ideally, if it'd be really cool to live in like a, maybe like I've never lived in the city, so it'd be cool to maybe live in the city for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then just, I don't know, hopefully my Civic lasts 10 years. That'd be cool. I don't really want a new car. So, and if not, then maybe just a...
Yeah, you just ask Anik to help you fix it. And
exactly, right? Yeah. I mean, I think he's got his hands full right now with his car. But that's, I see, dude, I mean, honestly, man, I'll probably still be in tech. I'll probably still be helping out in Boy Scouts. I'll probably still be reading a bunch. Probably still be doing podcasts. Still be cooking, you know, carnivore-ish diet. Probably will have cured my ulcerative colitis by then. And those are the only things I really want, dude. It's all these like intangible things. I don't really want any tangible shit. I'm also a minimalist. I hate having stuff. But yeah, all those intangible. That's what I want. I want all those intangible things to come true.
Right.
Yeah. What about yourself?
I think for me, I do imagine myself kind of having that like white picket fence life. So that's one of the things I kind of want to work toward. But I think generally speaking, I kind of want to just become the kind of person that makes the decisions that I kind of want to make, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's a lot of things I know about what I think of or as the like right decisions to make.
Right.
But I know that it's not necessarily about being like if you have to consciously try to make those decisions, then you're not the kind of person that makes those decisions, right? And so I think I want to like start working on like becoming a person that just does the things that I think are right.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's just my only like goal for the next like whether it be 10 years of my life or the next like 30 years of my life.
Yeah, just to be that type of person. Yeah, that's money, man. I think we have like the same mindset on that. Like very like intangible things, like things that you can't like. It's not like a material thing. Yeah. It's a type of life that we want. Yeah. So. Right. Big. Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah. You want to let them know where to find you?
Yeah, so my YouTube channel is called Z Corner, but corner spelled with a K. So ZKORNER, if I can learn how to spell.
Got it.
Yeah. And then do you want to do the same for...
my YouTube channel is just Renaissance, Raz, R-A-Z, and then Renaissance is spelled Renaissance.
Yeah, sounds
cool.
Good.
Awesome, man. Well, this is fun, and hopefully we can do it again sometime soon.
Yeah.
In the other studio.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah.